Shalom to the household of faith, to the Yashra of the Most High. I want to give all praise to our power Yahweh in the name of his son Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is what we say in the Hebrew. Bashem Rakak Kodesh in the name of the Holy Spirit. I want to give double honors to our elders of Great Millstone. I want to give honors to all the ministers out here laboring within this ministry, helping to seal the body, prophesying against this wicked kingdom, heralding the way of our Lord and Savior Hamashiach, which is very soon at hand to deliver us from this fourth beast. This revival of the Roman Empire, as prophesied in the scriptures, that this kingdom will come, it will fall, it will come back, stronger than ever, which fulfills the blessing of Esau, Edom, having the fatness of the earth. And we are, a prey in this system, and we are in desperate need of the Most High to deliver us from the hands of this beast, from this system, from the oppression, from the captivity. And Lord willing, this be an edifying lesson. I'm going to go into Daniel, the 7th chapter, just breaking down, what that script, what that chapter goes into. It's a very symbolic chapter, deals with the rising and the fall of kingdoms. And the Most High himself deals with, the rising and the fall of kingdoms. Let's go to Daniel chapter 4 real quick, verse 17. It says, "This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the bases of men." And back then, the Most High, set up Nebuchadnezzar and raised him up. And then you read the verse before that, he pretty much plagued his mind and had him thinking he was a beast, you see. And today, the basis of men would be Esau, Edom. And even though he's a base man, he has dominion over the whole earth, which again fulfills the Genesis 27 or 25, 25th chapter blessing of that Isaac gave him, that he would have, the blessing and rule by the sword, and he would have the fatness of the earth. So let's go into Daniel chapter 7. We'll start at the top. Verse 1, it says, "In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters." And Belshazzar was the last king of Babylon before the translation of that kingdom, which Darius the Mede came and smote him, took him down, and that was the beginning of the Medo-Persian Empire. But we're going to continue. Verse 2, "Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea." The great sea was the Mediterranean Sea. Verse 3, "And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another." And the four great beasts are symbolic of four great kings, four great empires. We jump down to verse 17 to prove that. It says, "These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth." You see? So the beast was symbolic. Let's jump on to verse 4 now. It says, "And the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld," matter of fact, let's stop there. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. All right, so let's go to Assyrian. Let's just type in Assyrian art. All right, because this first beast that he saw was the Assyrian Empire. Okay. If you look here, see the lion there? And something on his side here. It looks to be wings. The body of a lion, but it had wings. All right, this is Assyrian art right here. See, the wings. This is it right here. This is exactly what Daniel saw. So you see the head of an Assyrian, the body of a lion, you see the tail, then you see the wings. All right, so this kingdom that the prophet Daniel was seeing is the first beast, which was the Assyrian Empire, which that animal is known as the griffin. Just to show you that, type in griffin, because this is where you get a lot of people with the last name Griffin. A fabulous beast with the head and wings of an eagle and the body of a lion. All right, so pretty much this right here. But instead of an eagle face, they would have their own faces on it. See? All right, so go back to verse 4. "The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked," meaning he beheld until pretty much that kingdom fell. All right, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it, because the Assyrian Empire, their kings were, they had, I want to say Sennacherib. That's in the book of Isaiah. Sennacherib. You had Sargon. You had Esarhaddon, right? But then they fell around, I want to say 612 BC, and Nebuchadnezzar, all right, was the man that took them over. All right, that's why it says, and a man's heart was given unto it, all right, because Nebuchadnezzar ended up coming in and taking that place over, taking over the Assyrian Empire, and that's where you get the Assyrian Babylonian, some people might say. Verse 5, it says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side. So this second beast, or this second kingdom, all right, like to a bear, it raised up itself on one side, because one side of it was exalted because it was a joint empire. It was known as the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay, and just to get an illustration here. Because you had the Medes and you had the Persians. The Medes were the descendants of Japhet. And then you had the Persians, which were Elamites. All right, Medo-Persian Empire, but it was a joint empire. But as it says here, verse 5, it says, Salakia, and it raised up itself on one side, because one of the it was the Medes and the Persians, but the Persians were more exalted, okay? The Persians had, even though the Medes came first, the Persians had a greater portion of the kingdom, all right? They were stronger, than the Medes. It says, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, right? So, teeth usually is synonymous with power, military, and the 3 ribs represent pretty much the directions, the areas that were conquered, all right, by this empire, because they came from the east. Okay, look at this map. They came from the east, and then they conquered north, they conquered west, they conquered south. All right, now if you were to just narrow those down to 3 different land masses at the time, or so to speak, it would be Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. Okay, those are the 3 ribs that was in the mouth of the bear. I hate how I keep going back up, making me scroll down. It says, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh, right? Because, they was going through conquering. And, when you conquer nations, you usually end up putting them down. You end up, killing men. You know what I'm saying? And they devour much flesh because they took more land than the Assyrians had. When you look at a map here of that empire, you see all the square footage that they had. Now, when you look at the Assyrian Empire, this is all they had. They didn't have as much. The Assyrian Empire didn't have as much land under them as the Medo-Persian Empire had. It had way much more. So that's also going into the devour much flesh. Okay, let's go to verse 6. It says, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. And the leopard is synonymous with Alexander, who they call Alexander the Great, and the I didn't mean to close that out. Okay, this is synonymous with Alexander, who they call Alexander the Great. You see the leopard on the horse, and the Greeks, the Greek Empire. And when you look up Dionysus, all right, Dionysus was an idol in Greek mythology, and the animal associated with it was the leopard. See, let me see here. Ancient Greek, Dionysus is the god of the grape harvest, winemaking, orchids, and fruit, vegetation, fertility, insanity, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, etc. Dionysus, also spelled Dionysos, also called Bacchus, or in Rome, Liber Pater, in Greco-Roman religion, a nature god of fruitfulness and vegetation. Yeah, and see, when you read First Maccabees, this entity is known as Bacchus, because to the Greeks it was known as Bacchus, but to the Romans it was known as Dionysus, or it might be vice versa. But even in the scriptures in Acts, the 17th chapter, here you had, because a lot of times we're named after these different gods, like us being in the Greek captivity. Like my first name is Greek. It's named after a Greek idol. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of us have these type of names. You had Jake that was named after these idols back then. This is Acts 17:34. Howbeit certain men clave unto him and believed, among the which was Dionysius the Areopagite. So this was an Israelite, Israelite Gentile. All right, an Israelite in the Gentile state of mind, and a woman named Damaris and others with him. You see? So certain believed Paul, right? So it says, how be it certain men clave unto him and believed, among the which was Dionysius, which Dionysius would have to have been an Israelite if he believed. All right, but he was named after this idol, which goes back to the Greeks, and it was synonymous with the leopard. All right, so going back here to Daniel 7:6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given unto it. And these 4 wings of a fowl are symbolic of Alexander's 4 his 4 main generals that he parted his kingdom with before he passed. All right, when you read First Maccabees chapter 1, right? We started one and jump down. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonians who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, right? Jumping down to verse 6, it says, wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. Verse 8, and his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And his servants was those various 4 men, those 4 generals. They all had their own, land masses, you see. So to the left, you got Cassander, which that's pretty much Greece, Macedon. Then you had Lysimachus, who had Asia Minor. Then you had Seleucus, which had pretty much from Israel, Syria on east, and then to the south you had Ptolemy, who had reigned over Egypt. All right, so going back to verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. All right, and that represents this great military might that the Roman Empire had. So the 4th beast represented the Roman Empire. All right, let's go to chapter 8 in First Maccabees. Verse 1, it says, now Judas had heard of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them. And they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute. And this is what Rome was doing. It was conquering, various nations throughout Europe and putting them into subjugation, right? Verse 3, and what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there, and that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place, though it were very far from them, and the kings also that came against them from the uttermost part of the earth, till they had discomfited them and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year. All right, so this is that 4th beast, It says, I considered, Salakia. Verse 7, it says, continuing on, it says, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. All right, all these other nations that were nearby, it was conquering them. It says, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. And what made this beast diverse or different is that it didn't have the traditional monarchy that all other nations had, where you would have a father, and then he would die, and then his son would succeed him, and then he would die, and then the next in line would inherit the throne. See, this kingdom, when you jump down to verse 15, they had a senate. They actually, you would have men that would rule that were not related, and then somebody else would rule who was not related to the one who his predecessor. So First Mac 8:15, it says, moreover, talking about Rome again, how they had made for themselves a senate house, and that same senate is in place today here in Babylon the Great, which shows you that this is nothing but Rome, all over again. It says, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting away always for the people, to the end that they may be well ordered. Right? Hold on one second. That they might be well ordered, and that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them. That sounds like a president, today. See, so this is how it was diverse from all the other beasts. All right. And it had 10 horns. The 10 horns represent the 10 vassals that Rome had conquered. Let's look up real quick. The Visigoths and the Vandals, and all these different tribe, the Anglo-Saxons. You had the Vandals, the Visigoths, the Anglo-Saxons. Let me see if I can get a map, because that's who originally, that was the name of these people that inhabited the land at that time. Okay, Visigoths, the Goths, Carthage, the Vandals, the Gauls, the Suebi, the Alans, the Huns. Yep. So these are going into those 10 horns. See if I can get it perfect. This is it right here. Visigoths, which was in Spain. The Franks, which was France. The Ostrogoths, the Lombards, the Bavarians, the Thuringians, the British, which were the Anglo-Saxons. See, so this is going into those 10 horns. Okay, which the 10 horns again are 10 vassals. So they was subordinates to this great Roman Empire as they was coming up. Verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, which represents the USA, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked. Those 3 of the first horns were the British, the French, the British, the Spanish, and the French. All right, that's where America comes from. When you look at this land, initially you had Cristobal Colon, who was Spanish, who came here. Then you had the French. You do your own research on that history, but you had the French that owned a portion of the United States. You had the British, which is where America got its independence from, the British. But that's just more history. But continuing on, it says, were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. And that's all the United States does, is pretty much speak condescendingly amongst other nations. It invades other nations, lands and territories. It just pretty much imposes its will upon other nations. It forces its way, its democracy on other nations. It boasts itself, is proud, and that's why a lot of nations don't like America, because the scriptures tell you in Sirach, the 10th chapter, that pride is hateful before men and the Most High. So the Most High don't like pride. Even men hate pride. So America has been very blasphemous and proud, on the earth. And so That's that mouth speaking great things. It says, verse 9, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. So he's seeing these different rulerships get casted down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. The Ancient of Days is another name of the Most High, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from him Salakia. Verse 10, a fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him. These are the angels. And 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set and the books were open. And the judgment is already written for, what's going to happen. And that's why I tell you in Isaiah 46:10, the Most High declared the end from the beginning. See? And the books are being opened now. Now we get an understanding that the seal has been, loosened. Now we got the understanding, in this fourth kingdom, this fourth beast is about to be thrown down. All right, verse 11, it says, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame, because Babylon the Great, which is that fourth beast, along with NATO, this whole system, but particularly Babylon the Great is about to be destroyed in nuclear fire. You see? Verse 12, as concerning the rest of the beast, or the rest of the nations, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. So what that means is that these nations are going to go into captivity. See, when the Lord get back, the prophecies that's going to be fulfilled from that point is going to be, let's go to, let's get Revelation 2:25. It says, verse 26, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, the other beast, the beast. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. 1,000 years and did live. Revelation 24:20-4, and I saw thrones, and they did sit upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them which were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of the Most High, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahushua 1,000 years. And that 1,000 years is really not just talking about we're just going to be here 1,000 years and that's it. The 1,000 years is going to be that period of where we're getting the earth back in order, and we're actually putting the nations in captivity and having them build and rebuild the earth, all right? Because just like we were in captivity, they're going into captivity. You see, Jeremiah 30:16, it says, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and we were devoured by all the nations. You see, going through these different beasts, what nations have we already addressed? We've addressed the Greeks, the Romans, which are Edomites. We've addressed the Persians and the Medes, which are the Japhites, and the Elamites. We've addressed the Assyrians, okay? And it ain't just them, it's other nations too, all right, because they all in on it. So it says every one of them shall go into captivity. They don't go into captivity under us. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So this is what that's going into. All right, verse 12. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. So they're going to go into this captivity for 1,000 years, and then afterwards they're going to be released. They can live and dwell peacefully in their lands, but they're going to become tributaries unto us. They're still going to give us, you read this, I want to say Isaiah the 60th chapter. They're still going to give us, the first fruits, the best that they have. They're still going to give us things, and they're going to want to do that too. They're going to want to serve us. See, the other nations are naturally submissive and they naturally want to serve. It's just Esau is the only nation that was really created to be, the devil. You know what I'm saying? But the other nations, man, they gonna get in order, especially when they see what we do to the Edomites. In Obadiah the 18th verse, where it says pretty much, we're gonna exterminate them after that 1,000 years. See. So verse 13, it says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, right? The Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven, right? When you go precept upon precept, that links up with Revelation 1 and 7, right? Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, the Romans, the fourth beast, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so amen. So the Son of Man, Daniel is seeing Yahushua coming with the holy hostmen, the angels, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. This is the kingdom of heaven, see? And it's going to be on earth. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, in his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. All right, it's going to be an eternal righteous rulership, as above as it is in heaven, so shall it be on earth, which is going to be order, righteousness. See, this is what's coming. All right, continuing on in verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me to know the interpretation of these things, of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever, even forever and ever. And who are the saints of the Most High? The saints of the Israelites. This is Psalms 148, verse 14. It says, he also exalted the horn of his people. Horn represents power. The praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. So the saints are the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye the Lord. All right. So going back to Daniel 7 and 19 now, it says, then I would know the truth. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast. I wanted to know, and that is that old English. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. Yeah, just going into how the military again was so mighty, and their conquering of all the various Germanic tribes, etc. In Europe. Verse 20, it says, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And that's just going into the pride and arrogancy of Babylon the Great, America. That little horn that came out. Let me read that again. Of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, the Spanish, the French, and the British, even of that horn that had the eyes and the mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And that's why, again, other nations look down on America, because America in its pride, the way it speaks and acts, amongst its fellows, its fellow Edomites, its fellow heathen. You see, again, that it's that pride that's hateful. Let's get, I know I quoted it. I'll go ahead and bring it out. Because this is going to lead to why these nations are going to send missiles over here. This is Sirach, otherwise known as Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 7. Pride is hateful before the Most High God and man. You see, pride is hateful before God and man. So even men hate pride. And by both doeth one commit iniquity. Right. And I'm going to read this next verse. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And in Babylon the Great, America, this is one kingdom that has been gotten unrighteously, through unrighteous dealings with the so-called Native Americans, which are the Latin tribes, the Northern Kingdom. Hundreds of treaties broken, multitudes of injuries, riches gotten by deceit. You see, let's go back, because the scripture actually going to go into it. Daniel 7 and 21 now, it says, I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. And that's going into them coming over here, Christopher Columbus, Amerigo Vespucci, etc. Them coming over here and slaughtering the natives, the Taino, so-called Taino Indians, those tribes that was in what they call Hispaniola, the Levites, the Simeonites, inhabit that land today. But you had, various Northern Kingdom tribes, Simeon, Ephraim, Puerto Rico. All right, they came over here, made war with the indigenous Americans. They had something called Manifest Destiny. And they treated us like savages. Man, you look at that in the movie 1492. They looked at, the so-called native tribes. They looked at them as savages, man. Looked at them as less than them. They here it is. Our people welcomed you with open arms, and what you do, you slaughter them, man. You justify using the sword on them, and then you later on you bring the Southern Kingdom over here through a horrific transaction of the transatlantic slave trade. See, this was all making war with the saints. Then you put us in the chains of slavery, the Jim Crow, The wars are still continuing to this day. Verse 22, until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Yeah, so the time is coming, that we're about to, get this kingdom. It's about to be translated again. Sirach 10 and 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. And who is that kingdom being translated from and to? 2nd Esdras chapter 6, verse 7, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? This is the prophet Ezra, the priest, the scribe who came after Daniel. So he's having a conversation with the angel Uriel and having a conversation about, these kingdoms, these time periods, when we gonna come out of these captivities? Because he was, I think he was in, where was he at in this chapter? He was in, I think he was in Media. Yeah, 2nd Esdras 1 and 3, the son of Aaron of the tribe of Levi, which was captive in the land of the Medes in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of the Persians. So this was after Daniel came, and he was held in captivity just like us today. And he talking to the angel, 2nd Esdras 6 and 7, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born to him, Jacob's hand held first the hand of Ishashua. For Ishashua, Esau, is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. See, so Esau is the end of the world. He is the fourth beast. So going back here to Daniel 7 and 22, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. All right, verse 23, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth. Right, devour means to consume. It also goes into oppress. All right, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And that's what Babylon has been. That's why the scripture says Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon had been a golden cup in Yahweh Shem Yahushai's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. And that's why also it's known as the hammer of the earth. Jeremiah 50, I think 23. It says, how was the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? And this is talking about that future Babylon, man. See, ancient Babylon wasn't the hammer of the whole earth. It didn't have this type of power, this type of devouring the whole earth. You see, like modern day Babylon has done. This beast system, chiefly America. But the whole NATO, EU, that whole ancient Roman energy, has devoured the whole earth and consumed and oppressed the whole earth, man. The whole earth walking around here bugged out, wearing suits and ties and talking about Merry Christmas, right? It says, and shall devour the whole earth and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. Verse 24, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. Just all history right here, man. All history. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. And that's what happened, man. We've been worn the hell out, man. You know, these 40-hour work weeks, and then all of the shitty jobs. Well, I ain't gonna say shitty, but all of the jobs that are the lowest paying but seem to be the most important, they got Jake doing. You know, all of the Northern Kingdom do what? Landscaping, they working in the kitchen somewhere. And then Jake, what Jake do? All of the Issachar do a lot of that construction too. But what they got Judah doing? Waitress, serving, deliveries, you know what I'm saying? Because we got to work twice as hard to get not even close to as much as these other nations get, man. So it says, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And that's what they done, man. They got us confused. We don't know what year it is. They got this whole crazy-ass calendar where you got leap years and extra days in February every 4 years. And then you got the daylight saving time go up an hour, time go back an hour. It says, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. And that's going to really that 350-year estimation period, because you had the Northern Kingdom that was here already, which went into captivity under the Assyrians, right? Then they left the Assyrians pursuant to 2nd Ezra 13th chapter. Then they came over here into the Americas, and they was out here doing their thing out here. And then eventually you had the Northern Kingdom that came here, on cargo slave ships. And then from that time period, roughly around 1619 up until 350 years later, around 1970, which is when, this whole Hebrew Israelite thing took off, beginning with Elder Abba Bivens, who went into the Old and the New Testament, which I believe, prior to him, Jake was pretty much just going into the Old Testament, but the Spirit was on him to kind of go into that Old and New Testament, which is why, we believe that him to be, like I tell you in Malachi the 3rd chapter, or Malachi the 4th chapter. Let me get that real quick. Malachi 4 and 5, it says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. See, you had John the Baptist who came, who was reincarnation of Elijah, because he came before Yahushua. And then today, because it goes on to say, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So, you had, Abba Bivens, and then on down, the various leaders and elders that came, that, eventually the elder apostles, great millstone on down to the leadership below. But it all started with, around 1969, 1970, Abba Bivens. Just a little bit of that history, going into that times, and dividing of time. Verse 26, it says, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. Yeah, and what we're doing is we're speaking the judgment, and that's why things are changing and happening in the earth, because just through this word, it's beginning to take away his dominion. Let's go to first. Is it probably 2nd Thessalonians chapter 2 in verse 8, it says, we'll start at 7, for the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who will now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. See, so the Spirit of the Lord is already beginning to consume him, you see, to consume and destroy it until the end. He's already been consumed, and he's going to be destroyed when the Lord actually comes back and fulfill the things written in these scriptures. Verse 27, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniela, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. All right, so in a nutshell, man, that's been Daniel chapter 7. Yeah, I pray it was edifying. Until next time, I say shalom. All praise to our Father, Yahweh Shem Yahushua.